Hi, Weather Joey here with your Bottom of the South Island seasonal recap for spring of 2022, and we're doing this at the very end of 2022 before we go into 2023. I'm trying to get caught up on all those seasonal recaps, so we're doing all the springs today. You notice my clothing has not changed, and it's not really spring-like, so I should have more of a jacket on. Spring 2021. Or 2022. An interesting one. I'm going to go over the overall recap and then a more detailed recap. But if you don't remember, 2022 was a long spring and a drawn out winter almost all the way through. Anyway, let's get into it. An overall fairly average winter keeps on coming through March as spring is slow to start with a consistent coolish west-southwest showery flow. Winter-like weather stretches well into April and continues cool and wet right through May, and with no signs of summer. No summer days for March, April, and May, and that is, I think that's unheard of. So, the worst spring on record. I don't know. We'll get to that. But seasonal, but cloudy weather at times. Wet continues most of June, making for the worst spring, if you think that that's worse. Worst March to June on record, if not for the final week of a June heat wave, marking an abrupt start to summer. So let's get into the details of it. A long spring, a long cold spring. Everybody was begging for summer. March marks the start of our statistical spring, but it's wintry weather that continues through the whole month. Not particularly cold, but consistently cool, then wet and stormy through much of the month. March starts quite dry through the first 10, which is the first 10 days of the month, with onshore ridging dominating. However, this ridge fades south, and a stormy, wet west-southwest flow centered around the Gulf of Alaska low comes to dominate the mid-10 of the month, the middle 10 days. By the 21st, by the 21st of March, ridging is trying to build up from the U.S. West Coast. Temps warm a little, but rain and cloud continue, and as it breaks down, we see a return to the wet, if not showery, west-southwest flow through the end of March and into early April. This flow tends west-northwest later in the first week and into the second, eventually bringing a cool upper-level low which parks itself over the Pacific Northwest to the midway point of April with cool, almost wintry weather. This is where people are starting to get a little bit upset because they're remembering the year before, of that April 21, I think it was, those 7 days of summer. Cool, showery weather continues into the last 10 of April as a series of various lows move towards the south coast Pacific Northwest to linger before moving on east. By month's end, we're into more of a west-southwest flow that continues to bring cool, wet, showery weather into early May, all fueled by unseasonably deep lows in the Gulf of Alaska. This cool, showery weather continues through the mid-10 of May, I guess, yes, culminating in a windstorm before we see a little almost summery break. But remember, no summer days through all of April and May. Then a cloudy, showery west-southwest flow kicks in, keeping things unseasonably cool through the end of May. June begins with a milder, more seasonable trend with offshore low pressure bringing a moist, mild flow across the coast from the southwest to the south. This pattern dominates the first 10 of June, with plenty of mild, moist air in from the southwest, bringing the monthly average of rain by the 10th of the month. Temps remain below summery as spring holds on through the mid-10 of June and on to the last 10 of the month, as weak upper troughing along with weak surface ridge dominates the pattern for the south coast. It's not until the last week of June that we see a sudden arrival of summer weather, with high pressure setting up offshore, spreading over the coast, with support down the west coast of U.S., bringing the season's first heat wave once again and ending one of the longest, least summery springs on record. Look back to 1981 for something that's comparable. Anyway, that's spring 2022. We're caught up on springs. And we look forward to seeing you this spring 2023, and I'll bring a recap more on time, I promise. But I don't really have a saying for the end of the season, but may the season be with you, my friends.